Send you a quick reminder about some really important things in FASH 124. This is a history class, and I can't bring you into the classroom because it's online to show you things that are from the period that we're looking at and to point them out to you. Because it's an online class, you have to do this for yourself. I also can't take you to museums. You guys have to do this for yourselves. Therefore, in many places in the course, I point out that we need to be looking at primary sources. Primary sources are things that were created during the period that we're discussing. In order to make sure that something is a primary source, we need to be using valid sources. So just because something is in the textbook doesn't mean it's valid. It could be an artist's rendition of what they think something looked like during the period we're discussing, because maybe it was so long ago that that stuff is hard to find. Or maybe the authors of the textbook couldn't get permission to print it. So you need to do a little more work to find something that is primary, that means it's made during the period that we're talking about, from a valid, reliable source. That's someone that's expert. So not Wikipedia, not Pinterest, not a blog, not some costumer's website. You need to go directly to something like a museum. So if I go over here to one of our assignment discussions or descriptions, again, it talks about primary sources and valid sources. We need to make sure that we're using primary and valid sources, not Wikipedia, because anybody can post on Wikipedia, not Pinterest, anybody can post on Pinterest. Some of you are using sites that are meant to educate elementary school kids or kindergartners with like cartoons on them. Not okay. We're in college. One of the parts of these assignments is that at the end of the semester, you're supposed to post your compilation of all 20 chapters worth of assignments for your illustrated digital vocabulary list, for example, onto Portfolium. This is supposed to demonstrate that you learned something, and one of those things is that you know how to recognize something real. In a lot of the feedback I've given you guys, I've said, imagine that you have a ton of money that you're going to invest in buying something that's from the period. You don't want to buy a fake because then you're just wasting your money. You want to buy something that's real, authentic, not a copy, not a knockoff, that's going to go up in value. And if you were going to get someone to validate your purchase, to make sure that what you're purchasing is real and that it's worth the money you're paying and that it's likely to go up in value, you're not going to say, hey, you posted a picture on Pinterest. Will you validate my purchase? Of course not. You're going to try and get somebody from a museum, someone who has advanced degrees, who spent years studying this stuff, who's actually been in the room with something old to look at it and say, yes, this is real. It's from the year 1462. I can tell this because of the materials that were used, because of the fabric, because of the way it was stitched. You want to look at something real. All those little nuances are super important. With that being said, sometimes a thing like Wikipedia or Pinterest, sometimes those are good jumping off points. But again, anybody can post here. I could draw a cartoon drawing or have my kid draw a cartoon drawing of a coif and post it on Wikipedia, and it'll probably stick there at least for a while. So we need to drill down and find the true sources of things. Fortunately, sometimes Wikipedia validates itself, but we still need to follow the breadcrumbs and prove that what they're showing is real. So in this case, I can click on this image of a coif, and it says that it's created by Hans Holbein the Younger, who's a real artist from the period, and it says that maybe this was painted in 1541, or maybe it could mean something about Hans Holbein in 1541, that he was born or died. Who knows? But we need to validate it. So if I click on this image, it takes me to a larger image, and from here I can click on this more details button, and sometimes that'll give me something I can use. Not always, but sometimes. So what I can do is I can go down here and it tells me some information about the artist who created it. You don't always get this, but sometimes you do. It tells me the title of the portrait, so I could copy this title and I could Google it, or I could go to the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, which is where this particular image is supposedly housed, or it's owned by them, or it might be on display then there. So I can go to this museum and I can search either by using this title of the painting, but what's even better is if they give me an accession number. If I go to the museum and I search the collection for that, I should be able to find it. And probably if I type Los Angeles County Museum of Art, accession number M.44.2.9 in Google, this image might come up with a link directly to LACMA. LACMA, the link to this particular image, would be a valid source for this image. Now, what I would need to do is I would need to go to LACMA's site for this image and confirm the provenance, confirm that it's actually from the 1500s if that's what I'm looking for. If it's not, then I need to find another image that's from the real time period. So I can go to LA County Museum of Art, and sometimes you can go and search the collection. So let's just try searching here. So if I go back here and I copy that accession number, let's see what happens if I type it in here, or paste it rather. So there we go. It takes me to the LACMA site for this particular image, and I can tell that it really was created in 1541. So if I'm using this for chapter 8, that'll work. And this would be my URL, or my citation, for this particular image. Other things you can do are you can go directly to a museum like Victoria and Albert or Norton Simon or the Met, and you can actually search for particular time periods, and then you can look through the artwork that shows up and you can see if you can find the thing that you're looking for. There's also, this is another museum, or sorry, this is an NPG. Is this a museum? So there are other museums, yeah, National Portrait Gallery. So that's another valid place to look. There's also Google Arts and Culture, and you can use this as a jumping off point. So the Google Arts and Culture, they collect things kind of like Pinterest or Wikipedia does, and then you can use that to figure out where things are from. So for example, this here is from the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool, England. So I could go there and I could search for this image of Henry VIII if that's what I wanted. So just make sure when you're looking for items for your assignments in FASH 124 that you're, one, using valid, reliable sources. That's to say people that you can trust, that you would trust with thousands of dollars of your own money if you were betting on whether or not something was real. So not Pinterest, not Wikipedia. It's okay to use images from Pinterest and Wikipedia, but you also have to include an image that is from a valid source so that we can be sure that it's a primary image. And you have to validate that something's a primary image by looking at the provenance, by looking at the date that's included from the valid source. So some of you might be talking about petticoats. Well, they wore petticoats for hundreds of years. You have to make sure that the petticoat you're looking for is from the year that you're discussing. So be sure that you're using valid, reliable sources and that your images are primary, that they're of the image of the period that we're discussing at the time. That is all. I hope this helps. I look forward to looking at more of your assignments soon.